Welcome to Real Mob Stories with James Proctor. Hope all's doing well today. Today, we're going to discuss the relationship between Joey Merlino and Scott Bernstein. As most of you know, Scott Bernstein's an author and journalist and has a podcast called The Gangster Report. If you watch Joey Merlino, it's become apparently clear that he doesn't have much regard for Scott. So, we're going to break down a video that Joey's team put up this week where they talk about Scott Bernstein. And before we get started, please do me a big favor and hit the like button and subscribe to the show if you haven't already. Without further delay, on to our feature presentation. I first came across Scott Bernstein back in 2012 when he wrote the book Mafia Prince. And that tells a story of Phil Leonetti, who was the Philly underboss and nephew to Philly crime boss Nicky Scarfo. And honestly, I liked the book. And, in fact, I thought of it as one of the best mob books, although, there's some glaring omissions that I didn't know about at the time that I know about now. Back in 1989, Phil Leonetti was picked up along with Nicky Scarfo, and they ended up getting convicted of racketeering charges. Phil got 45 years while Nicky Scarfo got 55. And once Leonetti was convicted, he decided to rat on the Philly mob, including his uncle. And during that, Phil ended up admitting to 10 murders, and he served 5 years in prison. And then he got out in 1994 while his uncle ended up dying in prison in 2017. So Nicky actually almost served 30 years in prison. So what I'd like to do is play a portions of Joey's show. I'll share my thoughts as we go through it. But I thought it was pretty interesting and give some insights to that relationship. We're going to play a portion of Joey's show, and I'll share my thoughts on it. And I think it's really interesting because it does show some insights on why Joey Merlino has the ongoing issues with Scott Bernstein.
Bernstein is the co-author of a completely biased biography about former Philadelphia underboss Philip Leonetti, titled Mafia Prince.
Phil Leonetti, he wrote a book.
Okay.
This other fucking piece of shit.
All right.
I don't even know what the name is. I would never read it. I would never buy it.
A book that happens to gloss over, embellish and deliberately leave out so many facts that a lying rat and weasel like Phil Leonetti appears to be the hero. One glaringly willful omission by Bernstein, also known as selective journalism, fake news, is the true motive surrounding the 1979 murder of a Philly mob associate and friend of Leonetti's named Vincent Falcone.
I picked the bottle up, a scotch bottle, start drinking it to try and break the little bit of tension that was there. And I said, Vince, come on, get some ice. It's in the refrigerator. Come on, let's make some drinks. He came in, he went to the refrigerator and opened the freezer, and that's when I shot him.
How many times did you shoot him?
I shot him once in the back of the head, and after he fell down, my uncle listened to his heart, and he said to shoot him again in the heart. And I shot him again in the heart.
What do you feel?
I feel nothing. I don't feel nothing. I feel cold.
The part that Bernstein deliberately left out is that Leonetti actually shot Falcone in the back of the head so he could court and then marry Falcone's girlfriend.
Girlfriend of the man who was your close friend whom you murdered. Have I
Yes.
got it so far?
Yes.
Is now your wife.
Yes.
You must understand, looking at it from the outside, it seems a little strange.
Yeah, it does seem strange, but it wasn't until 2 years later that we really start dating. I mean, there was really not even
No,
an
I would
association.
think just the fact that you killed him might slow things down a little bit.
Just that I killed him.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's in the past. I mean, we have to go on. Things happen, and what are you going to do?
Rat's ass kisser Bernstein never wrote about that fact in his book because Leonetti the rat told him not to, and the pseudo-journalist Bernstein genuflected and obeyed.
They all got the same story. Philip was never in jail. He got lucky. He always got out on bail. He beat every case, so he was Crazy Phil. He loved that name. They wrote about him every day. Crazy Phil Leonetti. He loved it. He gets locked up, beats the case. He beat every case. If he would have beat the last case, he'd still be here. He'd still be Crazy Phil. Then he went to jail. As soon as he was by himself and lost the case, then he found God and the government. Now he's not Crazy Phil no more. He's scared shit Phil. Well, they do the same shit. They just lie. It's whatever benefits them to make money. So he's not crazy. He's not Crazy Phil no more. He's scared shit Phil.
Bernstein.
So the thing I wanted to mention about this case, so Phil Leonetti, we know that he's the nephew of Nicky Scarfo, and so is in 1979, Nicky Scarfo had ordered Phil Leonetti to take out or murder Vincent Falcone. And, Falcone, had been a friend of Scarfo's and Leonetti, for several years. And, part of it, was also Nicky Scarfo, because Scarfo was getting very paranoid. And, this was before he became boss and everything. But, as we know, Scarfo is, not someone to shy away from either. But, Leonetti ended up, taking him out, like you said, in 1979. And then in 1980, the next year is when Leonetti actually got made in the family. And then I would say in the mid 80s, he ended up becoming the underboss for Nicky Scarfo. And so Leonetti, he was very wealthy. He did a lot of, he was more involved in the labor unions, racketeering. They were out in Atlantic City. And at the time, Atlantic City was a big moneymaker for the family because the state of New Jersey had opened up and allow casinos to, to be in the city. That was something that, hadn't been in place since, the Prohibition days. And so that opened up a lot of tourism, but it also opened up, a lot of buildings that were being developed. And so that allowed the unions to get infiltrated by Nicky Scarfo and Phil Leonetti. And, they ended up becoming, at that point for several years, the biggest money makers, for the family. One of the things about Scott Bernstein with this is that, if it's true that he was not putting the full story in Mafia Prince, if he left out that about, Falcone, obviously, that's an omission that shouldn't have happened. Also, one of the things that I felt disturbing about this is that he ends up Leonetti ends up dating Falcone's girlfriend and widow, and then he ends up marrying her. So, it's a real scumbag that would do that. But part of the issue too, and it doesn't really go into this, but one of the things that happened in that book, Mafia Prince, Phil Leonetti actually talks about Joey Merlino, and what he says about him is that Merlino's a degenerate gambler, and he was putting out a story that Merlino was basically ripping off bookmakers, and so he would place bets, he would lose, and then not pay back the money he owed, and so that was what I think as well upset Joey Merlino. And so we'll now go to the next person that Scott Bernstein is referred to. And, this actually shows some footage from a previous show that Lee Cole did when he interviewed Scott Bernstein.
Bernstein, the self-proclaimed mob expert, propped up and vouched for a notorious lying fraud, nutcase, mafia wannabe and rat groupie from Detroit named Gunnar Lindblom. Lindblom has appeared all over YouTube and repeatedly lied about being related to alleged former Detroit LCN boss Jack Tocco.
What's your reaction to your indictment?
No comment.
The federal indictment says 69-year-old Jack Tocco was the boss of the Detroit Cosa Nostra crime family.
And having worked for alleged former Detroit street boss Anthony Giacalone,
They may have been the smallest, but they were easily one of the most successful mafia families left in America until today.
You're saying you guys are big players in the mafia. Is that true?
Your father is.
which we have conclusively proved is total bullshit. We never heard of this guy here in Detroit until his pointed dome popped up on Vlad TV lying and bullshitting. Bernstein lied about this clown's validity for almost 4 years, and actually gave him his start by posting his fake autobiographical series of short stories called The Lindblom Chronicles.
I posted some of his fiction writings on my website, and when I posted it, I said this is coming from a former Detroit mob associate. I probably shouldn't have done that, and that did give him some credibility to start building his brand, and frankly, it's gone haywire, and that's why I had to reel this back in and make it very clear where I stand on this. And I know there was some early platforming I did for him where I did refer to him as a Detroit mob associate. That was a mischaracterization.
Bernstein even teamed up with Gummer to do numerous shows on Lindblom's YouTube channel, which gave him even more credibility, so he could go out and lie and scam people. As soon as we exposed Lindblom as the lying fraud and scumbag that he is, Bernstein came out feigning ignorance and making excuses and backpedaling and whitewashing his long-time backing of Lindblom. But he only came out after we told him it was in his best interest to go public and straighten out the mess he created.
Now, he's been doing this for a while. Why did you choose this moment to talk about it?
What I will co-sign about Gunner and what I said from the start, any co-signing of Gunner or endorsing of Gunner was as a criminal. It was not as a mobster. None of my reporting or my research has ever connected Gunner Lindblom to any mob activity in Detroit related to Tony Giacalone or Jack Tocco or Tony Zerilli.
But that's not what Bernstein said on Jeff Nadeau's show 8 months earlier.
How did the Toccos right now, the family that he's saying he was part of, are they like kind of upset at him for?
Yes, the Toccos and the Giacalones are very, very upset with Gunner's behavior and him co-opting their name for his brand and, telling stories that they believe are totally false, and he's doing it without their permission, and it's upsetting a lot of people, and I get a lot of the blowback. These people put up a video that proves that if there is any relationship between Toccos that Gunner belongs to and the mob Toccos, it's a very, 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 very distant relation. I mean, the video is saying that there's no relationship. I'm saying if there is any relationship in terms of cousins, it's incredibly distant.
So are you saying that the Tocco family they have something to do with putting this video up?
Yes, I'm saying that's another thing I want to correct, that expressed this to Gunner and he doesn't want to believe it, or this is not coming from a bunch of mob dweebs in their basement. This particular iteration of people attacking Gunner's credibility is coming from the Toccos and the Giacalone.
Okay, so let me remove this. So the thing I was going to say about, I don't really know Gunner very well, but obviously I know about the book and, the platforming that Scott Bernstein had done for Gunner. And, and it really surprised me, to be honest. Before this happened, I had, a lot of respect for Scott Bernstein because of the book Mafia Prince. I thought it was actually a good book. But then, I just didn't understand why he would go on and platform this guy. And then also you have Vlad actually putting this guy on. And so, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think part of it too is, at least in my opinion, what I've seen, at least in this genre, it seems like that I think more of us have more of a bullshit meter. We're able to see when we're getting lied to, when we're being bullshitted. There's still folks that come out trying to purport that they are, part of the mob. I know the last person that did that was a guy claiming to be related to Paul Castellano. And, the problem is that now with the internet, now with people that research this on an ongoing basis, they're able to find out pretty quickly if someone's telling the truth or not in most circumstances. And so with Gunner, I know that he has responded to a couple of the videos. I think one time he was accusing me of putting mobsters up on a pedestal or denying that, the evil that they do. It's obvious that, people in that life, they do bad things. And, Gunner, for whatever reason, wanted to, go after me on that one time. But, I don't really know the guy. I see him around, but, I think for the most part, he's not doing too much online that I know of. But, at the same time, I think what we have to do as content creators, also as viewers, we need to be skeptical of these people when they come out and claim stories. We need to be skeptical of it. the bigger the story, the more evidence that we need to prove one way or another. So, for me, the question I have for all of you is, what do you think of Scott Bernstein? What's your opinion of Mafia Prince? Have you read the book? I mean, do you think that Joey Merlino has the right, and is he right for criticizing Scott Bernstein? I'd love to get your thoughts in the comments below. The next story that we're going to go to is there's a new 3-part documentary that's on the History Channel. I have not watched it yet, but it came out last Sunday on April 11th, 2023, and it's called American Godfathers: The Five Families. And it's like 6 hours, and I definitely want to see it. I don't have the History Channel right now, so I'm going to have to figure out a way to get it. But the thing is that this series is based upon what I consider probably the best reference book ever about the New York Five Families. It's by a New York Times journalist. I think he's passed, named Selwyn Ryab. And he wrote a book called The Five Families: The Rise, Decline, Resurgence of America's Most Powerful Mafia Empires. And so this series is supposed to be taken from his book and talking about, these mob bosses, these godfathers that were infamous, in New York. And my understanding is that Michael Imperioli, who was on Sopranos, played Christopher on Sopranos, he's narrating this. And it's a company called Rich Street Productions that's actually producing this. Sounds very interesting. Like I said, if you ever want to have a good reference for the mafia, especially the New York Five Families, you need to check out Selwyn Rob's book. I believe was written sometime in the mid 2000s, maybe 2005, 2006, somewhere around there, because it goes all the way up to the period of time where Joe Massino flips, and for me, all of that time period up to Joe Massino, I consider Joe Massino probably the last actual true mob boss. And when he flipped, and also you had in the Jersey family, with Vinny Ocean, Palermo flipping, it just really changed everything. Today the mob is not obviously what it once was. I mean, it's still around, but for the most part, in my opinion, it's not anything like it once was. And maybe it's for the better. I think with technology, I think also with if you're an Italian American male youth, you have choices now in life. You can go to college, you can do other career choices. There's a lot of the mob guys today, they're struggling to put food on the table. It's just not as easy to make money illegally. And what I see within the mob today is that it's kind of like even our country today. There's not much of a middle class when it comes to the mob. You either have those that are real wealthy, that happen to, basically have rackets that have been in place for decades, or you got the other guys that are just scrapping to, try to, make money. It's just not the same as it once was. And, I'm really interested to see the series. Let me know. Have you seen the documentary? Give me your thoughts on it. Is it worth watching? I mean, it's been a while since we've had a good documentary, in my opinion, on the mafia. I felt that Fierce City was pretty good. The first one. I didn't think that the second one was too good. There were a couple of of documentaries that came out. What was it? Get Gotti. I thought that was very poor. And then there was another one about how to be a mob boss or something like that. You know, I thought it was just really corny. So, you know, for me, it'll be interesting to see that. Let me know your thoughts about the show. You know, that's all I had for you today. You know, hope all is going well. You know, I have a few things I'm working on. I hope to be able to share with you in the next few days. But with that said, please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't. Also, love to hear your comments. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and God bless you always.